So here are my students' posters for the British Popular Culture course. Britpop was a popular topic because it's kind of Britpop, and there's some nice use of images here that students combined with the work from their essays. Good job there. And this was an inspired idea, British junk food, and these are all the different ways you can get fat eating British food. Crisps, we are the envy of the world for our crisps, and chocolate, of course, and the classic curry and chips, and explaining about the connections there between, you know, classic kind of British street food and Indian food. And of course we have fries, Turkish delight, full of Eastern promise. And then we have another Britpop poster. This one's framed within the manufactured battle of Britpop between Blur and Oasis, which was very well done. I like this one a lot. And talking about how this manufactured battle reflected kind of the north-south divide and class anxieties and so on. Here we have a poster on heavy metal, of course, and we have some of the classic bands of metal here, Sans, Deep Purple, and talking about how heavy metal is, well, arguing that heavy metal is predominantly a British genre. So this was a good choice. We have the London Olympic opening ceremony here. I think this was inspired by the Sandbrook documentary that we watched on this. And yeah, looking at how it included everything from Mr. Bean to the Sex Pistols. And this was a great topic, trying to basically argue that Britain made a contribution to hip-hop, which is a brave thing to do, but this was well done. I would have liked to have seen something about street sounds, electro, and particularly electro, UK electro, I think, but that's because I'm from a much older generation. Pink Floyd, looking at different stages of Pink Floyd. We've got the psychedelic Pink Floyd, we've got the mega-selling Pink Floyd, we've got the political Pink Floyd, and we have the fading out Pink Floyd, and mostly focusing on their political dimension. We have Robin Hood, and talking about how Robin Hood's image has basically been cleaned up over the years. And we have the Great Exhibition, and this one is basically talking about the Great Exhibition from 1851 and how it was kind of the beginning of Britain marketing herself, I guess. And we got Harry Potter, of course, and looking at Harry Potter as a book, as a film, and as a cultural phenomena. And this is the Muggle's Guide to Harry Potter. And we have a very psychedelic poster here. So we have the psychedelic hippie movement in Britain, and this is from a documentary we watched in class. And some nice images there, and the classic British psychedelic bands. Who's missing? Okay, this guy's not. So nice overview of psychedelia. We have James Bond, of course, but there's only Sean Connery and Daniel Craig here. There's no Roger Moore to show off his snobby side. And we have another Beatles poster. And yes, we have the different stages of the Beatles, I guess. We've got the early Beatles here, we've got the early Beatles here, we've got the late Beatles here. I guess we have no mid-period Beatles. And mainly looking at the influences here. Sorry. And this was from yesterday. I love the topic of this one. So indie music, we've got the Smiths, we've got Joy Division, we've got Jesus and Mary Chain, etc., etc., talking about this particular export of British music, which is often overlooked. Okay, it's great to have indie up here alongside metal and hip-hop. And we have an adaptation of a book here which this student thought reflected British popular culture quite effectively, particularly the 90s. So there's some icons from the 90s here. And we have Doctor Who, of course, the archetypal British gentleman, and this was an inspired decision to put the poster in the shape of a police box, the TARDIS. What was not so good is the fact you can't actually read all of it. White Teeth, a brilliant adaptation of a brilliant book, and this was a nice poster adaptation of that, which focused on the second generation and how each of them represented a certain type of Britishness. Okay, and we have mods and rockers, one of the favourite topics here, and some nice images from the early 60s here of the mods and the rockers. This is actually from Australia, this one is, Revival. And we get to see the Triumphs and the Vespers and the Lambrettas and so on. And here we have a very kind of general overview looking at the Beatles and James Bond and Sherlock as being examples of British soft power. Here we've got a kind of a goth poster. It's so goth that you can't actually read some of it. But yes, it looks very striking. We've got The Cure, yes, Led Zeppelin, of course, Muse, Pink Floyd, particular examples of a particular type of British music. This was a very original idea. Basically, Sacha Baron Cohen, oh dear, sounds like one of his characters, Sacha Baron Cohen, looking at the different ways that he kind of parodies Britishness in his work. This was a really good one too. This is looking at the works of Banksy and how Banksy kind of represents the capitalism, globalization, and a particularly kind of British irreverent attitude to that. We have a plagiarised poster on the Great Exhibition, so I'll skip that one. And pub culture. This one's great because not only did they focus on the positive aspects, but they also focused on the problematic aspects, and they redeemed it by including this picture of a fight on Manchester streets, taken, looked at from the perspective of Renaissance painting. So this was very well done. This one was one of my favourites, looking at British national foods, curry and Coronation chicken. I always forget that this is a kind of curry, isn't it, Durham? And chicken tikka masala and the Balti. So yes, it's not all fish and chips, and these guys know it, so that's good. This is a much better poster on the Great Exhibition, and this is another poster on the Beatles. And yes, you can see the different phases of the Beatles there. Here, of course, we have the iconic British film Trainspotting, and these guys have taken Renton's rant from the beginning and put theirs in the middle of it. And here we have a poster for the Full Monty, which is basically all it is, it's a poster for the Full Monty. And here we have quite a nice poster on fashion in the 60s, looking at the different stages of fashion in the 60s. The early 60s, the mid 60s, which was the coolest, and then the psychedelic disaster at the end. And here we have 1970s music. Bob Marley, of course, Jamaican, but wouldn't have become such a megastar if it wasn't for Chris Blackwell, Island Records. And we have the punk movement, of course, personified by the Sex Pistols, and you can't have glam rock without David Bowie. And the final one, I guess, is another Mods and Rockers. That seems to be one of the favourites, probably because there's plenty of readings on it. And there you go, Mods and Rockers, and there's a shot from Quadrophenia in the 70s. So there you go, there's the posters.